And what I came here today for was to make sure that you know about 3 really important things that are happening in your city. One of the very most important things that's happening in the country is the census. We have got to have everyone counted. At this time, they say that the 2 most uncounted populations in the city of East St. Louis are infants and felons. It's critical that we count everyone. And I brought a couple of pieces of information for you all. One of them is about home rule. Home rule is a designation through the state of Illinois and throughout our country where communities that drop below 25,000 people lose the right to govern themselves. You're governed by your county and then your state. And it says that we only counted 60% of the population last time. So if that's true, we counted 26,662 people, and we should have counted almost 45,000. I'm certain that there are some people who have left. But if only 10% or even 20% of that 44,000 left, we're still well above 25,000. The one really nice thing about the census is that it is completely private. If you know that there are felons living in public housing, they will never be able to be evicted because they live in public housing. When people sign up to be enumerators, is what they're called, or I call them census takers, when they are the people that come out and count, they sign an oath that they are not allowed to disclose any information about who lives in those units. We have to try. And I know in the situation that this country is in and has been the last 3.5 years, it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust anyone. But we need to count every single person in this community. I'm going to leave some information about home rule, but I want you to hear me say there are 3 things that sets the guidelines for home rule. The home rule status is not granted to every community in Illinois. It is granted to a county, which has a chief executive officer elected by the people of the county. So the county has explicit home rule. But units of local government with a population base in excess of 25,000 inhabitants get to exercise the same rights of home rule that the county does. I know there's a lot of mistrust. I live in Belleville. I've worked in the city for 30 years. I understand the mistrust. I have faced it myself representing your families. I've faced it myself representing me. It's important that we don't allow the county to dictate what happens to our riverfront. It's important that we don't allow the county to dictate what happens on your streets. It's important that we do not allow this population to not be counted. In a time when people question the amount of murders in our community, and they talk about Black Lives Matter, there is no better moment than to take charge of your right to vote and your right to be counted and to stand up. So I can't beg you enough to at least take a look. It won't take maybe a minute and a half to read this when you leave, but read it and share it with everyone you know. And please encourage them, when those cards come in the mail, to fill out the form. Encourage your neighbors to fill out the form. If you need help with it, you can come find me or have Reverend Mosby find me. I'll send someone and help them fill out the form. It's important to get every single person counted, and don't forget about the babies. If they're going to be born before August 31st, they get counted in this census. So please count them. The second most important thing is something that's near and dear to my heart, and is what Reverend Mosby and I connected over years and years ago, and that's youth build in St. Clair County. We have been responsible for, I cannot tell you how many young people, but we know that it's between 300 and 900 young people a year going through our program, learning how to do construction. But more important than learning how to do construction, they take those survival skills that they face and use every day on these streets, and they learn about their value of them as individuals, the value of who they are, how important they are to the community, how important they are as a person. And they take those skills out into our state, across the United States, and out into the world. We have young people, one young man in our program scored the highest score that's ever been scored in the state of Illinois on the GED test, and it still stands, and that was in 2010. If you come into our building, the first thing that you're met with is a smiling, friendly face at the front desk. And the reason that person sits at the front desk with that smile is because everyone who works at Emerson Park has been trained and ingrained and forced to believe that we are all family, or they can't work for us. I don't care what someone has been through before they hit our door. They are to be welcomed, they are to be encouraged, and we do our best to make sure that whether it's anywhere from myself to the janitor to myself, that they bond with somebody in that building that they're willing to develop some trust with, that they're willing to talk to, so we can connect them to the resources that they need to either go on to college, go into the Air Force, to complete their GED, to learn some skills, to feel loved, and to feel that somebody wants to help them. And that's really been the basis of Youth Build from its inception. So myself and all of my staff and all of our graduates are also going to and my board, particularly my board, because I couldn't serve you if I didn't have these wonderful board members. This flyer is for anyone 17 to 24 that is out of school, that is involved in court, is really just down on their luck. Our program will start on Monday. All they need is a state ID, a birth certificate, and a social security card. They'll earn a bus pass and $50 the first 2 weeks. They'll earn a bus pass for the whole time that this program runs, which is March the 9th all the way to August 31st. They'll have a monthly bus pass. They'll have $50, then they'll earn $100 a week. They'll go up to $150, and then they'll graduate to $300 a week. The classes go from 8:30 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon. They'll be renovating a home in East St. Louis off of Caseyville Avenue. That home will be sold to a low or moderate income family, or leased to purchase for a low or moderate income family, or rented to a low to moderate income family. It's important that these young people can go back through and look at what they've done. And all these houses that are built around here have all had Youth Build crews on them that have been newly built, whether Don Johnson built them, whether Emerson Park built them, whether McCormick Barron built them, regardless of who built them, there's been a Youth Build crew on them. I have 6 young men who are now part of the unions, and they work for the Housing Authority, they work for themselves, they work in the state of Missouri, they have state contracts, we've taught them how to become vendors for the state. There's a lot available to young people out here without a high school diploma or a GED. Please encourage them to come. The part that I thought was the most beautiful today was seeing all these young people who were wanting to become baptized. I have witnessed 109 young people be carried to their grave. It is the most disheartening part of my job. And the saddest part of my job is I've almost become numb to it. And part of that is because the violence is so accepted here. We've just recently been given a violence prevention planning grant from the state of Illinois. We will start working on a plan next week, and I'll be working with Reverend Mosby to see if I can't get a committee of people from your church to also help us curb this violence. The plan has to be done by June 30th, and then the state is supposed to fund it following that. If you have been touched by anyone who's been killed in these streets, I would beg you to at least send us some advice. Give us some answers. No answer is wrong. It all needs to be incorporated. I had someone the other day say, you're going to get a whole bunch of people tell you it's the music. Probably is a little bit about the music. Probably is a little bit about what you hear. Probably is a little bit about Facebook. Probably is a little bit about all those things. But if we aren't willing to voice it and it's not received, we can't make a difference. So as you plan to make a difference in your church and with all of these young people who came to be saved today, please reach out to those who don't have the courage to come. And let's see if we can't stop some of this murdering in these streets. and let's really make Black Lives Matter.
Come on, give her another great big hand. I believe she deserves a standing ovation. She's been working 30 years in this community right here. This church is part of Emerson Park. Amen. This church sits in Emerson Park. Amen. We thank God, amen, for the relationship over the years, and we continue, amen, to support you. Amen. And we pray for you too in all of your endeavors. Amen. Oh my God. We thank God. So we got the enrollment, amen, it's not application, but the information, amen.